Hey everybody, this is Perch. Comic piracy. And no, this isn't a video about if piracy is right or wrong or kind of the impacts even having to sales or any of that. We've done those videos. They're out there. You can search. My stance is pretty clear on that, I think, at this point. But talking about a different angle, which is why are creators oftentimes very gun shy to call out piracy? And now I'm not saying all of them. There's definitely some creators who have. Correctly, by the way, identified that piracy is a problem. But there's a lot of creators are weirdly silent about it, and I say weirdly because piracy is something that takes money directly out of their pocket, particularly for creators who are getting royalties or their part of their pay comes from sales of these books. I'm not even talking about just general self-survival of saying, I want these books to get sold because I want to keep getting work. And if not enough money is brought in on these comics, then I won't, it's going to make it harder for publishers to fund these books and I could lose my writing gig. Not even the long-term thinking. I'm talking about the short-term thinking of literally your royalty check is smaller because people are pirating your book. I would think that of all the people out there, creators would be some of the most vocal of saying, this is unacceptable, guys, you're killing us, being very firm on this stance. But again, many creators are silent on the topic, and others, even if they mention it, they will quickly delete tweets, and they will get very, very shy about saying anything, to the point where creators sometimes express a comment of, I can't really talk about this. It makes too many people mad. And I find that curious. Why draw the line there? Because I think the moral high ground is very much on the side of don't pirate if you're a comic book creator. You definitely have you have the high ground. So what in the world could create a situation where you would be concerned about this? One little kind of addendum to everything I just said is that most of the time we're talking about social media. We're talking about creators saying something on Facebook or on Twitter, or maybe on a private blog, but mainly those two places. And one thing that's true about those two places, somewhat Facebook, but absolutely Twitter, is that there is a very much a pro-piracy sentiment. And it's not just pro-piracy, it's that if you are against piracy, you're somehow anti-poor. Or I've seen some people equate it that if you call out piracy, you're making a anti-LGBTQ. I saw somebody say it was anti-trans to call out piracy. No one's been able to kind of explain to me why in the world that is. But other than kind of this vague, marginalized communities are not as wealthy, and you are depriving them of entertainment. But I don't think that's very accurate. I think if we actually saw some surveys about the marginalized community that reads comic books, it is definitely not. I don't think it's any more poor than other audiences. Yet it has been tied in with things that have nothing to do with piracy. And as a result, creators, and I've heard this directly from several now, say that by wading into piracy, you get potentially called a bigot or a racist or any number of things, anti-trans. And that, people are quick to say, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it's what happens, so I just don't say anything. And I cannot, for the life of me, understand how these two things are tied together, other than social media in general feels like a black pill of engaging with it is not worth it. There's a guy who frequently asks this question, and it's a quick answer, so I haven't done a video on it, but I should. It's like, what is the cost-benefit analysis of being on social media at all? If you watch the Sean Gordon Murphy video, the interview we did talking about social media, the answer is none. Like, I think there's ample evidence at this point, both for creators and, frankly, for publishers, that active engagement on social media is detrimental to your pocketbook, to wealth, to promotion. Most most social media activity has nothing to do with promotion. In many cases, it's largely ignored, or in some cases, those are the most positive tweets. You can take people who are super active on social media, and when they're just promoting art or their book, they tend to be really liked. They tend to people are all over it. It's all the other stuff that gets way more dodgy, gets people into trouble. There is no counting on it. I mean, I guarantee you, Leah Williams did not expect that the outcry with X Factor number 10 that it was going to be that she was a racist. I guarantee you she didn't see that coming. But this is there isn't a good reason in many cases financially or the book's sake to be on social media. Only bad reasons. It only seems to be a net negative that gets going here. But piracy. But back to piracy. What's confusing there is that again, by saying nothing, or by in some cases there are creators out there who, I mean, I don't know if it's if people are afraid of somebody doing gotcha with them, because you can go back in time to before several of these creators were comic writers or artists, and they talk about pirating books, and they talk about being too poor to afford books, and so they don't want to take a hard stand against it now because somebody will call them a hypocrite. But I mean, in all honesty, like we all say things that we change our minds on. You're telling me that I understand some people might accept it, but bluntly, fuck those people. Everybody has a right to change their mind. And if you at one point said, I don't see a problem with it, and then suddenly you get into business and you understand there's a problem, it's okay to say, hey, I was wrong and I've changed my tune. In fact, that might be frankly positive to comic books if somebody would come out and admit that. But it also, the other thing I start to suspect here is that the publishers, and maybe the people running the social media accounts, or maybe people who are in editorial at a lot of these publishers, and keep in mind, we've seen and heard some of the paychecks for some people in editorial, and they're terrible. They're below the poverty line in many cases. It might, well, I don't know if it's truly below. When you're paying between $30,000 and $40,000 for an editorial job at the big two, you are being paid too little. That is a ridiculous, stupid salary. But it feels like a number of people who work in the company and work in the business, one, the audience that they want to attract are their friends, are their peers, are people like them. And if you're making $30,000 a year living in New York, your peers are probably broke like you. And so therefore, you're not going to take a hard stance against a group and an audience and a market that you identify with. Unfortunately, that's not what the company needs to survive. I mean, the challenge with piracy is no matter how you want to argue it, now how you want to make it, and guaranteed somebody will come in the comments want to make the argument that piracy actually helps sales. There's plenty of studies that prove that. There are not with comic books. There are not. Everybody always points to other things, but there's no proof. In fact, only the opposite proof that piracy is negative to comics. But again, whether you believe that or you don't believe it, I'll put it this way. The illusion of piracy, catering to people who openly say they aren't buying your books, is a bad idea. Let's say I could sign on. I don't agree, but that's fine. Again, we're not going to argue it here. Let's say you could sign on to the idea that piracy actually leads to more sales in U.S. comic books. Again, there's zero data to support that, but okay. Let's say I could sign on to that. I still would not sign on to a strategy of marketing to the audience that pirates the comics first. I would still go with the strategy that markets to a core paying audience first, as opposed to a lot of what certainly seems to be Marvel's case, a little bit DC, where the audience they're catering to increasingly is comprised of people who pirate the books and people who hang out on Twitter. And that is a terrible combination to base your company strategy around. But anyway, maybe one of you has the answer to this. Maybe one of you understands kind of the explanation of why this is and can fill it in for me in the comments below. Why is it that so many creators, again, these are people who get royalties off comics, who are directly impacted negatively by piracy. Why are many of them either silent or passively accepting, supporting piracy? What's going on? Why? Somebody explain this to me. I don't get it. All I know is it feels like somebody who is repeatedly just punching themselves in the groin and going, God, why does it hurt? I don't get it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe you can explain it to me. And thanks for listening.